the question of inspiration versus motivation for a writer, right? Where do you stand on that? How should a writer think about the act of writing? Should you wait for some words to visit you and fill you with thoughts, or is it the routine that really guides you through this process of writing?
It's still a very important question, not just for for at any stage.
Hmm.
And I don't know, inspiration is shorthand, isn't it? We're saying
Hmm.
something else when we say inspiration.
Hmm.
And I think when you say, do we have to wait for inspiration to strike? No. And this is something I can say very, very emphatically.
Hmm.
Inspiration does not strike. Okay. Uh, what strikes will differ from person to person. So you may be struck by a particular color on the water as you sit on the bank of a river, and that is really the romanticized version of the poet, for example, isn't it? That we sit
Hmm.
still when surrounding and we see this, and inspiration will strike because it is inspiring to be in contact with nature, right? uh is that going to be your only means of um creation? No, it cannot, because you won't have those many moments
Right.
where everything is so perfect and so
Hmm.
perfectly suited to your writerly purpose, right? So, but what you will have to do when you said wait for the word,
Hmm.
I will pick up the word wait from that. So, I think if you can inspire yourself to wait, okay, sometimes patiently, you can wait impatiently also, but
Yeah.
something will come. And I think if you start making a routine of it, I'm taking both your words, it is a routine also. It's exercise. It's like if you get into the routine of doing yoga every day for half an hour,
Yeah.
why should writing be any different?
Hmm.
Write for half an hour, write garbage, it's no problem at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
For
Hmm.
1 whole year after leaving advertising, I wrote 1 whole year of absolute tripe. I had to write everything out of my system. All my existing patterns, I wrote them out of my system. I did not put them anywhere in the public. Huh.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And if you don't build up that sort of, it's like it has to matter enough for you to do all these things. All right.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
feel whimsical about it and you want to write because you feel like writing, that's a completely different thing altogether. Huh. And by all means, you must also do that. One thing I would say is that if you're waiting for inspiration to come, where will you wait? Huh.
Hmm.
Different people will have different waiting places. A cafe is a good place, a train is a good place. They are not waiting places. They are places where you are experiencing something in time. Huh.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you're not in a limbo, hopefully, because if you're in a limbo, nothing much is going to happen to you. Uh, and when you're actually going to sit and write, how rich is your inner life already? If you're shutting yourself away, how rich is your? Huh. I find, and this I will say to you, because especially for younger writers, because a lot of times, even in schools, they ask me, when the bachas are asking me this, I always take their questions very seriously because it is a serious question. Inspiration actually is everywhere. And I say this
Hmm.
to them in all earnestness, because that is when I'm not allowing any cynicism or any world weariness to come in. Okay, inspiration is essential. It's when you breathe in air, inspire. That's what it is actually. No. So if you're breathing in air, where are you getting it from? What inspires you? It could be a conversation with you have with a friend about mutants. It could be, and I'm using examples which led to poems in my children's book. So we are talking about mutants. So there's a poem on a mutant man. You're talking about if you run out of subjects, because this was a book that was commissioned and I had to write poems for young people. I asked people, I asked youngsters, what do you want to read? What do you want? What kind of poems do you want to read? So then I said, what kind of subjects? So I wrote a poem on escalators and elevators. That's a distinctly
Wow.
unpoetic subject.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes we find it very useful. Okay, I'll tell you something.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm very inspired by facts.
Hmm.
very much inspired. I don't think there's anything as inspiring as a fact. Okay. So you take a fact, um, and you're looking at that fact and you're thinking, and while you're thinking about the fact, something is unfolding.
Yeah.
Find facts very inspiring. So I don't find obviously inspiring things inspiring. So between motivation and inspiration,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not sure whether there is even a difference, because if I find a fact that is sufficiently opaque to me or sufficiently exciting or infuriating, I may be motivated to pursue it just to see what
Hmm.
I can do with it, so that I I wrestle with it and I make it into something that speaks to me, and which hopefully will speak to other people as well. It could be mathematics. I'm perennially inspired by mathematics. So these are the ways in which I think who you are. Look, if you keep broadening the things that you think are interesting to you, you keep broadening and broadening that, now the world is just waiting to offer you things.
Yeah.
Sometimes this happens to poets, sometimes it's not inspired. You get so angry. Anger is a kind of inspiration for me. Angry, sad, because something is so wrong,
Right.
and writing is a way of just speaking back to that sense of despair, or
Right.
sense
Right.
of
Whenever you're experiencing a heightened emotion, it can
it's
be.
not
Hmm.
necessarily, yeah, of course, but also
Hmm.
response to things that happen around us. So, like, it could be
Hmm.
in the news, it could be an event. So those
Hmm.
may not be inspiring, but they may be
Hmm.
entirely so so infuriating, or so
You're affected by it.
yeah, it affects
Hmm.
you deeply.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the only way you can deal with that is by
Hmm.
writing. And that could become anything. It doesn't always have to be
Hmm.
a
Hmm. Hmm.
poem. And I think people always think that poets are more inspired than
Hmm. Hmm.
other writers. I'm not so sure. I think that's one of those myths.